These young dancers are from the public school on the Tuscarora Reservation north of Niagara Falls. They're performing a traditional dance as part of a harvest festival which was held in Albany. The festival celebrated Iroquois culture and spotlighted the talents of young students from a number of reservations across New York State. Performing along with the Tuscarora dancers was the Mohawk Children's Chorus, which sang Junk Food Blues.
Chips and a chocolate bar, I love that junk. Sugar-coated bubble gum, a great big lump. What am I stomach saying in this? Let me tell you now. I got those rumbling, tumbling down in the stomach, junk food blues.
Private education was also represented at the festival by the Akwesasne Freedom School. Children from the school performed a play entirely in the Mohawk language.
Nora Gayaduni Ogara. Wahuni Zayaga Garihio Wayats Raksa.
We decided to take a closer look at Akwesasne and how the children there are being taught about their language and culture. The Mohawk Territory straddles the borders between New York State and the provinces of Ontario and Quebec. The Mohawks are one of the 6 nations which are part of the Iroquois Confederacy. The spring of 1990 was a time of turmoil on this reservation. The community was sharply divided over issues of law and order and casino gambling, so divided that Mohawk fought with Mohawk, and the sounds of automatic weapons echoed through the night. After 2 Mohawk men were killed in the violence, state police from New York and provincial police from Canada entered the reservation to restore order. Since that time, an uneasy calm has prevailed throughout the community. During the conflict, all of the reservation schools were affected. The St. Regis Mohawk School, which is the public school on the American side, had to close its doors for 2 weeks and relocate to an elementary school that was outside the reservation. William Mitchell is the principal at St. Regis Mohawk.
We had to make adjustments to our transportation because parents, through their cooperation, brought the students to the perimeter of the reserves, and then we bused them from there to the Messina schools.
How were your kids affected by this?
Well, it was, they knew we had some types of problems. They were unsure exactly to what extent they were. All children were affected in some degree, some more than others, but most of them was a concern for family and family members and friends.
While the St. Regis Mohawk School had to move its operation for 2 weeks, the private school on the American side was more severely impacted. The Freedom School is located in a neighborhood that was a stronghold for the Warrior Society, a faction which supported pro-gambling forces. Marjorie Skidders is the director of the Freedom School.
Some parents didn't feel it was safe to send their children to the school with Warriors being so close by. And we were closed for a total of 6 weeks. The first 2 weeks we had closed, we were able to open up for another week. And then once the roadblocks opened up, we had to close again for 6 weeks. And then when we did open up and the children returned, the children were much quieter. They were more, withdrawn. It affected everybody. And I think everybody had their own experiences as far as the children had their own. The parents sort of acted as a buffer, but there was no way that the children could ignore what was going on here. All you had to do was get in the car to go to the store to get a loaf of bread, and you could just see the turmoil and conflict.
The political and geographic divisions that characterize life at this reservation are mirrored in the way that Mohawk children are taught about their language and culture. Each of the schools we visited is using their own method. Back at the St. Regis Mohawk School, teachers are trying to integrate Indian culture with the rest of the curriculum.
Okay, boys and girls, we have been studying about the community of what? Who can tell me? Raise your hand. Okay, Chris?
Akwesasne.
Akwesasne, okay. Could you tell me what 2 countries it's located between? William?
Canada.
Okay, that's one.
And I know. United States.
In the United States. Okay. In Canada, the reservation is within 2 provinces. Who can remember those things? Jonathan?
Quebec and Montreal.
Quebec is one. Montreal is the
I
city.
know.
What's the other one? Quebec and...
Ottawa.
No, it's the city. Think. Quebec is one of them.
Ontario.
Ontario is the other. And
This
the other
third grade
provinces
social
are
studies
based
class
in
went on a
Canada,
tour of the
the
reservation.
States,
The
United
teacher,
States.
Betty Jo Courier, has developed a unit on goods and services that can be found there.
What other things are made here in the reservation? We have baskets. Can you think of other things that are made and sold? Owen?
Iroquois.
Lacrosse sticks. Okay. How many know where the lacrosse factory is? Okay, Evan, where is it? Where is it?
On Cornwall Island.
Okay, could you go to the map and show the boys and girls about where it is?
Probably about right here.
Okay, that's where lacrosse sticks are made. Anybody know what they're made out of? Anybody can remember what they're made out of? What do you think?
What?
Do you know what kind?
Hickory. Yeah.
The St. Regis Mohawk School has about 290 students in grades pre-K through 3. All of the students are required to take some classes in Mohawk language and culture.
In terms of teaching Mohawk language culture, all the students are scheduled two times a week into the Mohawk language and cultural program. We have the full gamut of what the state mandates that we also deal with from the state of New York. So there's no question the community would like more time for Mohawk language and culture, but it's difficult to fit into a normal day.
Yung kwa hui zele, yung kwa yesunyu, ya kwa lano de.
Jean Hearn, who teaches Mohawk language and culture, is frustrated by the lack of time she has with the children. Depending on the grade level, students will be with her twice a week, from 20 to 40 minutes.
There's so many things I try to put into the class that I can't because I'm limited with the time that I'm getting. I would like to see children get Mohawk language at least 1 hour a day. We'll lose our language if we don't get more help with the teaching and with the parents not, talking the language. But there's only a few parents that are taking adult classes and that are taking the Mohawk language. So I would say we're losing our language if we don't get more of it. Yo wista galele, jiun kwa hui zele, yung kwa dan ni gu loli, yung kwa dun ha hele. Swista ezo swista you is on the go sada, shua hui zele, swista ezo swista you is on the go sada, shua hui zele.
After children finish third grade at the St. Regis Mohawk School, they continue their education at schools outside reservation territory. Many go to Salmon River Central School in Fort Covington, where the student population is half Indian. Classes in the Mohawk language are offered through grade 12, but this wasn't always the case. It wasn't until Indian parents boycotted the school district in 1968 that school officials began to respond to the needs of the Mohawk community. The parents were concerned because they had no representation on the school board, and their children weren't being taught the Mohawk language. Minerva White was one of the leaders of the boycott.
We had to have all of these parents who had all of these concerns rally around to have a successful boycott. I mean, this was a first in an Indian community, probably across the nation. In 1968, Indian people didn't behave this way at all. One of the things that you have to do when you're leading anything is to focus on one thing. So we focused on getting representation on the School Board of Education. We went through the courts, and 2 years later, we were able to be seated on the Board of Education, and then work from there.
As a result of the boycott, 2 Native Americans were seated on the local school board, and the district began to teach the Mohawk language. Even with the improvements, some parents that adhered to traditional Mohawk values weren't satisfied. In 1979, they banded together to start the Akwesasne Freedom School. Tom Porter, who is a traditional chief of the reservation, was one of the parents that got the Freedom School going.
The philosophy of the Freedom School, I guess, basically is to instill pride and dignity in our children as Mohawk people, and only when they can capture this can they deal with the outside world or international world and still remain Mohawks. And so the philosophy is sort of like 2 worlds for 1 people.
Each day at the Freedom School begins with all 30 children reciting the traditional Thanksgiving address, an ancient Iroquois prayer giving thanks to the Creator and all His works.
Somebody asked me, what does a freedom mean? And I think the freedom and the word and the name Akwesasne Freedom School has to do with the philosophy as far as free to teach our children in a way that they learn, and in a freedom to teach our children who they are. They learn their language, they learn about the ceremonial cycle, they learn about the great law, they learn from their elders, they learn from their faith keepers, they learn about academics. They learn how to get along, how to cooperate rather than be competitive. It's a very rich curriculum, and I think very rewarding for both the child and a teacher or anyone involved in this school.
And how does that help their identity?
I think they walk away with a very strong and high self-esteem.
Children at the Freedom School are taught entirely in the Mohawk language from pre-K to grade 3. From grades 4 to 6, the children are taught for a half-day in Mohawk and a half-day in English. The concentration on Mohawk comes from a concern that the language is being lost.
If we don't do something now, everything will be lost. If we lose the language now, everything will be gone.
The Mohawk language is one of the languages of the Iroquois people, and I would venture to say that the Mohawk language here in Akwesasne is probably spoken more than any other Iroquois community in any of the territories. And here we are, the language in the next 15 to 20 years will perhaps become extinct, except for a few people here and there that would speak it. And with it in mind that the Mohawk, this community speaks it the most, has the most populous people that speaks it, and in 20 years it'll be extinct if something radical isn't done to change that. Here, in just a matter of a few months, 6 months, they're able to speak quite a bit of it, even do the ancient prayers, which is very difficult even for a grown-up to do, and this school has been able to master that.
And how do the Freedom School students fare once they go on to other schools?
Some children are actually afraid to go into another school. When they're here, they're in a very safe environment. They're fed academically, they're fed spiritually, they're fed in a very nurturing environment. And one tends, when they reach grade 6, that they tend kind of to be afraid of what is out in the public school. Our children, we're having a hard time, not academically, but socially, because we have 30 kids.